What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another TheeSportsScoop video. I know it's been a minute. We've got a podcast for you guys today. Me and my fellow host, Serge Kadali's playoff predictions and some looking at a lot of quarterbacks in this one. I think quarterbacks are a big part of the NFL and playoffs are a big part of the NFL. So why not talk about them both in this same little podcast for you guys today? Serge, how you doing?
Doing good, thanks. How about you?
I'm having a great day with my 8-5-1 Giants. First thing I wanted to talk about is we've seen a lot of starting quarterbacks get moved around in the NFL this year, based on injuries, trades, starters playing badly, backups coming in. We've seen a lot of them. One you're familiar with, Zach Wilson. Do you think that his career as a starting quarterback in the NFL is over?
As a starter,
As
yes.
a starter.
As I think he will. Here's what I'll say. Whether or not it's with the Jets, I think he's going to get another chance to be a starter.
Right.
But I don't think he's going to win a starting competition with whatever QB he's going against. And I think really with the issue with Zach Wilson is that besides he has the fact that he has slow processing speed and the fact that he's been kind of all over the place in terms of accuracy, the main issue with him is mentally. He just doesn't have that. He doesn't have really he's in his own head. He doesn't have confidence right now throwing the ball. And that's really been the stem of all of his issues. And more importantly, he's always just scared whenever he's in the pocket. He doesn't have a command enough pocket presence. And in the NFL, that is a very underrated trait, probably one of the most important traits, because as you can see, when you don't have pocket presence, everything else just gets messed up and you're just all over the place in terms of accuracy, and turning the ball over is much more frequent. And I don't think that's something really he's gonna be able to fix, because his frame I think he's like 6'1" or 6'2".
He's
but
smaller than average.
I don't think he even is that small. I'll check it right now, but his speed, his
Zach Wilson
size is
6'2".
He's 6'2".
So he's not undersized.
But he plays like he's 5'11" or 5'10". The way he plays. It's just he always looks so small, always looks so scared to take a hit. And he's not like other small quarterbacks where he's really good at getting out of the pocket and making a play, because oftentimes he runs right into the defensive tackle, right into the edge rusher. He's not good at breaking contain or good at getting out of the pocket. And when he does get out of the pocket, he's not really good at making the right decisions or being accurate outside the pocket. So I just don't think he's going to be someone that's going to be a starter for any team. Maybe he'll get a chance again because of his tools, but I don't think he's going to be a starter.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think he's too young and too raw to not give another chance. You don't take this second-year quarterback who's drafted number 2 overall and only give him one chance. I think he deserves more than that. I don't think that chance will come with the Jets again, though. I think the Jets are going to be kind of scarred by the Darnold and then Wilson the last 5 years, 6 years for them. So it's just been, I think, not that he moves away this year, but I think he'll serve as the backup next year should the Jets go into the draft and take a quarterback, or even if they decide to go to Mike White, pick up a free agent quarterback. Chris Streveler came in and outplayed Zach Wilson last night. I think they could go to pretty much anybody right now, and it would be a better deal than Zach Wilson.
Yeah.
So we'll move on to another quarterback, and that's Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield's a really interesting one. Do I think that or really, do you think he's going to get another starting job in the NFL? He's had one starting job in Cleveland, one starting job in Carolina, and now he's with the Rams, and he's serving as the starter right now because of an injured Matt Stafford. We saw how well he played in that first game, but then the second game, he knew the playbook and looked like Carolina Baker again, or like, last couple seasons Cleveland Baker. Does he deserve another starting role?
Baker is an interesting one because he is a quarterback that's gone to the playoffs, has looked like a solid quarterback at times, and now he's just completely fallen off. But he's an interesting case. I would say yes. I think he's going to be I think he's going to get an opportunity as like a bridge quarterback, kind of between either if it's a team taking for a rookie quarterback or a team that kind of has all the pieces except the quarterback and there aren't any other available quarterbacks on the market. I think he's going to convince some teams that he's a top 32 quarterback in the league, and he's going to barely get a starting job, but I don't think he's gonna really light it up, and I don't think he'll get too many after that one where he kind of, starts off okay, but then he kind of falls off. We've seen that as a trend in Cleveland where he's just
I
too
think
inconsistent
multiple
on and
seasons.
off.
Yeah.
But I think he'll get another chance. I think I don't know whether or not it's with the Rams possibly. I don't know what the Stafford situation is going to be, but I'd say he will though.
Yeah, I think the thing with Baker is I think he has all the tools as a quarterback. The question is just making it work. He was the number one overall pick for a reason,
Mm-hmm.
and he showed why he was the number one overall pick in his rookie season, breaking tons of records with the
Yeah.
Browns, that were, just recently broken by Herbert, by Burrow. But I think Baker has shown that he has the ability to lead a team to the playoffs. Whether that team is as, talented as this Rams team is potentially, and as, untalented as that Cleveland Browns team was. And I think Baker has shown, on and off that he can be a starting quarterback. So I think he's going to get another chance to prove it. The question for me, the bigger question is, does he get that chance with the Rams? Another quarterback I want to talk about is Matt Stafford, and that just sort of enters in the conversation. We know that if Baker Mayfield takes over the starting job in LA, which I don't think will happen, but if Baker Mayfield were to take over this starting job, Matt Stafford would leave and become the starter somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
Um, who do you think? Who do you think takes over that starting job? Like, do you think Matt Stafford, once he comes back, is like right back into it, or if Baker starts to win a few games, do they leave Baker in?
I think it also depends on really whether or not we're going to see someone like whether or not we see Sean McVay be back next season. Because I think if he's back, I think the quarterback is Matthew Stafford. But I don't think Stafford has that many years left in him either. But I would say they committed to him. I think they're still going to give him maybe one more chance. Obviously, this year was really riddled by injuries. We heard at the start really that he was dealing with some elbow injuries. They're going to try and maybe see if that'll fully heal. But if not, then I think they might. I wouldn't be surprised if Baker is switched in somewhere during next season. But I think Stafford will be the initial start.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think should Sean McVay leave, which I would think is a really horrible decision. One bad season is not defining for a coach, and we've seen what McVay can do
Oh,
with this
I
team.
think he might retire. I think that's really the issue because a lot of
I
people are
don't.
saying that's what a lot of people are hearing. A lot of people are saying that there's a possibility that he may retire, which and become some sort of sports
Yeah, I
go
would
on
find
TV.
that
Which
crazy.
honestly, I mean, he's already made a lot of money. It would
No,
make
no,
sense.
that's not the worry for him. I would just find that kind of crazy because he's one of the premier coaches in the NFL
Mm-hmm.
right now. Um, and I think without him in LA, they might have another season like this one
Yeah.
next year. Um, but we can move on from the LA situation and talk more about a couple other guys who I think I know what you're gonna say for these guys with another starting chance, but Sam Darnold and Carson Wentz.
Hmm.
These ones are
Darnold, I think might. I think Darnold might
I
because
think
he's been
yeah,
okay in Carolina. I think
he's okay.
again, I think it's a similar to Baker Mayfield situation, but I think he's actually kind of a more stable option than Baker. And
I mean,
it's
he
just going to
doesn't
be that
have any
similar.
INTs this year.
Yeah, I mean he's decently sized, doesn't have terrible pocket presence. He just isn't really a great quarterback, isn't a good quarterback, but again, he's serviceable. And I think some other teams similar to the situation that the Panthers were in this year will be like, yeah, why not? So I think he will get another chance starting. Again, nothing long term, but he'll be like a
Another bridge quarterback for me.
a low tier starter to a high tier backup for me. And then as for what was the other one?
Carson Wentz.
Carson Wentz. I don't see why any team would want Carson Wentz, honestly. I don't
That's how
see
I felt for the last
because
like 6 years
because
though.
with I know that is true, but with that contract, I don't see him starting next year. I don't see him starting next year because
But who would start?
Heineke. I think Heineke would start absolutely over him. And then I think maybe if they don't like Heineke, then they'll give the reins to Sam Howell, but they'll start both of them over Carson Wentz. And I
I
don't see
think
any team, and
yeah.
I don't think you can cut him with the dead cap that would go
Yeah,
with cutting
the
him.
cap that would take up is just horrible.
Yeah. They're so it's a weird situation, but I just think he's going to be a very expensive backup for Washington for a few years, and
Yeah.
then And then we'll see. I don't know. Maybe again, maybe similar situation to Darnold and Baker, but for the next few years, I don't see him starting.
Yeah, I think I completely agree with you here. I definitely with Sam Darnold, I see it. I don't think Sam Darnold's very good. Put him in the right scheme, maybe he can perform. Now, Carolina coaching staff is not particularly strong.
Mm-hmm.
Carolina's 5-9 this year. It's yet another bad year. And will Sam Darnold be the starter next season? I think they'll give him the chance. I feel like it's possible we see Matt Corral next season.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not out the gates week 1, but if Sam Darnold is given the chance to be the starter, Matt Corral is clipping his heels and waiting for his chance to come in.
Yep.
So I would be really interested to see where that quarterback situation goes. And with Carson Wentz, if I were a team, I would completely agree with what you were saying. But I've thought really like not anything at all of Carson Wentz. I've thought he's a really bad quarterback for his entire career, except for the one season where they won the Super Bowl. And yet the Eagles seem to want to give him a second and a third and a fourth and a fifth chance. And then Indianapolis gave him a chance, didn't pay off. Washington gave him a chance. It clearly has not paid off. I could totally see another team going in for him because they see something that I clearly don't. I wouldn't go in for him, but if he has to serve as Washington's backup, it's really bad for Washington. The amount
Mm-hmm.
of cap hit they take for getting rid of him, and even for keeping him just on the bench, it's a really bad waste of money. But Washington has some other problems they need to worry about. So I think I agree with you. I think Wentz does not get another chance, and Darnold does.
Yep.
And the last two we'll talk about happen to go by the same last name. That's Mac Jones and Daniel Jones. Um,
Daniel Jones is easy. He's gonna start. I don't know
yeah,
because I think, but he's a pending free agent after this year, right?
Daniel Jones, I think assuming they don't pick up his fifth year, but
I thought it already expired. I thought they didn't.
I I
Wait,
don't know. I don't know if they did or not. I feel like I should know,
fifth
but like I just don't.
year
I don't
option.
think they picked it up, but we'll see how they negotiate.
Yeah, they declined his fifth year
Yeah, they declined. I
option.
thought so.
So this is his last. Then he's an unrestricted free agent. I assume I'm gonna I'm just gonna make sure that
Yeah.
I'm correct. Um so yes, he will be an unrestricted free agent in 2023, but based on how he's played with the frankly just terrible receiver room around
Yeah.
him, that has also been ravaged by injuries.
Oh yeah.
Um I think he's absolutely starting. I think with the Giants, I would be surprised if they don't keep him based on how he's been playing. And then Mac Jones, I think it's the same. I don't see why he wouldn't start again next year. It's just been terrible, terrible situation where I'm being with Matt Patricia as his OC, and really again similar to the Giants, not really a great receiving room. No, who's the receiver one there? Jacoby Myers,
Jacoby Myers.
yeah, I mean,
He's okay.
yeah, but he cost them the game against the Raiders. But
Yeah. But they
but
probably
both
wouldn't.
but
I mean,
both of
who
them
knows if they'd
have
want it.
futures as starting, especially Daniel Jones has had his best year of his career, and Jones still only in his second year had a really promising rookie year, and then um poor second year, but I think third year we'll see. I think we'll see him once if it depends on really who he has around him, but I think he's definitely starting next year for New England.
Yeah, I completely agree once again. I think Daniel Jones has done way more than enough to prove he should be the starter this season with a way below average Giants offense, with the
Mm-hmm.
exception of Barkley. Um, I've also seen, mock drafts where the Giants are getting guys like Jackson Smith and Jigba late in the first round, which would drastically improve the receiving core,
Mm-hmm.
adding a healthy Sterling Shepard. And, you're actually starting to build something, receive a solid receiving core, no standout players in that core, but someone for Jones to throw the ball to. And I think that Kafka and Dable are doing really, really good job, finding Daniel Jones's strengths and using them to hurt defenses. And that's when he's running the ball, he's really hard to tackle and he's really hard to catch. He's fast and he's big. He's 6'5". And I feel like he seems a lot smaller on that field. but teams are scared playing against Barkley and Jones because there are too many, a lot of read options in that offense, which is just hard to defend against.
Mm-hmm.
Mac Jones, I agree, it's only his second season, so they'll definitely give him another chance. My guess would be most likely in New England next season. He's had a really poor season. He has, and there's no way around it. But New England are still 500 team. I know without him for a couple of those games where Bailey Zapp played, but I think Mac Jones and Daniel Jones will both be starting in New England and New York, respectively, next season.
Mm-hmm.
So if we want to move on to the next topic, we'll move away from quarterbacks for a minute. This one's a pretty straightforward one. Serge, who do you think is winning each conference? I think one of these is
In
harder than the
the
other, but
No, I think they're both very hard. But I would say in the AFC, I'm gonna go Buffalo. And
okay.
that's just because I think they're the most. I think they've got issues. I don't think they're. I think in terms of offensive talent, they're not as good as teams like the Dolphins or the Bengals, but they've got a better defense than both teams, and they've got Josh Allen. And I think that's going to be the difference. And I think it's their time to break through. Obviously, dealt with adversity, that 2-game losing streak against the Jets and the Vikings. Were they actually frauds? Were they really Super Bowl contenders? They bounced back to the 1 seed. If they get home field advantage, that is a huge deal considering the past few years they've had to go through Kansas City at Arrowhead. And I think that's going to be the difference. So AFC Buffalo, NFC, I'm going to go Philly. And I think the reason why, I mean, they've obviously been the best team in the NFC, but I would pick I'm very tempted to pick San Francisco, but the reason why I don't
I
is
can't.
because
It's just gonna be
I
too hard.
just think playing a rookie quarterback, they never go to the Super Bowl. And I think Brock Purdy, he's been exceptional for a rookie quarterback. Obviously, really good executor of Kyle Shanahan's scheme, but I just don't think that it'll be him going to Philly for an NFC championship. I don't think he will be good enough to kind of break through. I think there are other good teams in that conference, like the Vikings and the Cowboys, but Dallas, I feel like every year they look like a really good team on paper and just can't get to like the NFC championship. And Minnesota really they win all the close games, but if you watch them, I don't think they can handle going against teams like Philly or Dallas because they lost by a lot of points to them when they did play them. So I'm gonna go Philly versus Buffalo.
I'm going to take. Oh, this is a tough one. I think Kansas City is going to get the top spot in the AFC
Mm.
going into the playoffs.
Who do you think Buffalo
Buffalo's got
lose
to
to?
play Cincinnati next week.
Oh,
And I think that's a much bigger game for Cincy than it is Buffalo. Buffalo has that division locked up. They're going to win that division. They've already clinched it. And I think while yes, they're fighting for that number 1 seed, Cincy only has a 1-game advantage over Baltimore. And I think Cincy's going to have so much to play for in that game. They're going to want that one really bad. And they're going to take that. I think it'll be KC, then Buffalo, then Cincy. And I think realistically, those are the only 3 teams that I see in the Super Bowl.
mm-hmm.
I don't see Tennessee getting there as the winners of that division. I don't see Jacksonville should they win the division. And then Baltimore, the Chargers, and Miami have all looked good at times, and they've all looked really bad at times. So I don't see it being any of those 3. I'm gonna go. I think it's gonna be Buffalo and KC in the AFC Championship game. I
Yep.
think. I that is a really tough one. Just to be different, I'm gonna go KC in the Super Bowl. I
Mm-hmm.
think Mahomes in the playoffs is just
I mean,
really, really
again,
hard
there's
to
literally
play
nothing wrong
against.
with picking Mahomes and the Chiefs, but I just think in terms of
Yeah.
talent, they've really fallen off. Besides Kelsey and Juju,
Oh
that
no, they
offense is just
100%
not
have.
great. That defense, which they kind of invested in to kind of make sure they had a more balanced team like Buffalo, is just not very good. I think if Kansas City are going to the Super Bowl, it's going to be on the back of 15. So I just think
Absolutely.
Buffalo kind of are a bit more complete. But I think Mahomes is the best quarterback in the league. So there's no reason why Kansas City can't do it again.
Where I see the difference, I agree with what you're saying, but Buffalo's only a complete team when they're healthy.
That's true. That's true.
And Buffalo has been ravaged by injuries.
But they're starting to get more healthy. I know they lost Von Miller, but I think that defensive line is
But with Von Miller, Micah Hyde, Jordan Poyer, and Tre'Davious White all out,
Poyer and White are back.
they're back this week. When were they back?
They've been back for a few weeks.
Okay, then I'm tripping. But
It's Hyde and and
Tide
Von
and,
Miller,
and
which are
Miller
still
were the
huge
bigger ones,
losses,
which are still
but
massive injuries. And I think that they've just been so hit by injuries this year that this complete team is just has a couple holes in it that don't look as bad when they're playing regular season. But a quarterback like Patrick Mahomes and with a head coach like Andy Reid, they're just going to tear up holes. They're going to find what they want to do, and they're absolutely going to execute their game plan. Buffalo's not going to be able to stop that very well. So give me Kansas City out of the AFC. The NFC, I agree with you, is actually a tougher one. I think there are four teams that realistically could go to the Super Bowl. That's Philadelphia, obviously only one loss this season. Minnesota have looked like one of the best teams in the league for a few weeks. San Francisco have looked pretty phenomenal since getting Christian McCaffrey, and Dallas are an on and off team who, I mean, I agree with you. I think they'd probably choke in the playoffs, but I'm gonna put them in this conversation just
oh yeah,
because
yeah,
they
they're
have
absolutely in a
a slightly
conversation.
easier first round matchup in a 6-8 Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Mm-hmm.
With those four teams in mind, there's always the fifth option of Tom Brady.
That's true.
I I never want to count out Tom Brady in the playoffs, so I'm not going to count him out, but I'm also not going to pick him for this one. The Bucs are not good enough this year to go to the Super Bowl, but I would not be surprised if they knock off Dallas in the first round.
Oh yeah, I think that's a very Dallas thing to happen.
We're almost confirmed that the first round matchup will be Tampa Bay and Dallas.
I mean,
Dallas
who
would have
knows?
to
Maybe
lose a
Carolina
couple,
will sneak
or
in.
Carolina soars into that spot, or Atlanta for that matter. But I think that it will most likely be Tampa Bay and Dallas facing off in Tampa Bay. I could totally see the Bucs winning that one. Then they would go into the next round playing Brock Purdy and the 49ers, assuming they're able to beat the Giants or Washington or Seattle, whoever they play. I could see them beating a rookie quarterback too. Tom Brady knows how to take advantage of that.
The problem
I don't
is
think they would beat 49ers
in San Francisco. I mean,
could see it.
They won like 35-7. Brock Purdy and those Niners crushed the Bucs. They're a better team. Even with Brock, I think they could make it to the NFC Championship.
They are definitely a better team, but Tom Brady's always the better quarterback in the playoffs. It's hard to bet against him. I don't think they would beat San Francisco. And my NFC champion pick, I'm gonna go with San Francisco.
Oh, so you do think they'll make it?
I do think San Francisco will go there. Brock Purdy has executed the game plan perfectly. The one problem that I see Brock Purdy facing, and I'm trying to be as completely unbiased as I can here, is the Giants in the first round. The Giants' defensive scheme is going to be very different to what most teams run. The Giants throw a lot of pressure in your face, which is going to be different than they see in Tampa Bay, different than they see in Minnesota, different from what they see in Philadelphia, though not that different. Philadelphia likes to pressure the quarterback a lot too. Philadelphia will be by far the most challenging offensive team they have to face. The Giants will not be able to give San Francisco 30 points to try and go score more than. But the Giants defensively are one of the best teams in the league. And the way they like to pressure quarterbacks and the way they can get in a rookie quarterback who's only got, at the time, will only have like 4 or 5 games under his belt, I think could give Brock Purdy a lot of problems. That being said, I am picking San Francisco to go to the NFC or to the Super Bowl. So I think they will be able to deal with that. I don't think the Giants are good enough to beat the Niners in the first round should they play them. And the Niners might not even have to play the Giants in the first round. The Niners may go to second. The Giants may fall to 7th. The Giants may fall out of the playoffs. But I think San Francisco, to me, look like more of a complete team than Minnesota, for sure. Minnesota have looked really, really meh all season long.
They've looked too weak defensively. That's my issue.
Too weak defensively for sure. Their point differential this season is really bad. For an 11-3 team, if you saw their point differential, you'd think they're like, 7-6 or 8-6. And Philadelphia, while I think Philly's really, really good, and they've shown it this year, I think that San Fran has what it takes to beat them with their offensive weapons. McCaffrey and Kittle and Ayuk is really a lot for defenses to handle. And I think if there is a defense in the NFC that will be able to handle those 3 guys in particular, it's Philadelphia with Darius Slay on that defense, Fletcher Cox. We know the guys they have. But I will go San Francisco winning that NFC Championship match. I I think McCaffrey and Kittle have looked spectacular with Brock Purdy just executing a game plan that they want to play by. Shanahan's doing a great job. So yeah,
Mhm.
I'll go
Yep.
KC and San Fran. Moving on though, now we'll shift even closer on a closer lens. NFC South. We talked about it a little bit. We've got the Buccaneers. We've got Carolina and Atlanta with still playoff hopes, and New Orleans have playoff hopes too. They're all still
Mhm.
in it. It's 6-8, and the other three are 5-9. Who do you think takes that division? I mean, it's close. They all play each other too.
Just four bad teams, but I think I'll go Tampa. I think their last three games they should all be favorites in. Arizona, they'll win. They'll win that. Cliff is a terrible coach, and they have Colt McCoy at quarterback instead of Kyler. So I think that's gonna be the difference there. Carolina and Atlanta, divisional games, I think they'll win one and they'll lose one in 8-9. And I think that'll be enough. That'll be just enough to take the NFC South. It won't be pretty, but luckily Tampa Bay will somehow sneak in as that 4 seed.
Yeah, I think for me it's between two teams. It's between the Bucks and the Panthers.
Mm-hmm.
And that's because the Saints and the Falcons would each have to win two games to go ahead and take that spot from the Bucks. And the Falcons have to play against Baltimore as well as the Bucks,
Mm-hmm.
and the Saints have to play against Philadelphia as well as the Panthers.
Mm-hmm.
So I think with these divisional games, it's going to be really close. And I think while the Bucks will take it, the second the Bucks lose to either the Panthers or the Falcons, that's wide open. Because if the Bucks do lose to either of those teams, um, then that team just needs to win one more game. And that's big. Because I think the Bucks are going to be my favorite though. I think the Bucks, as you said, should win all three of these games. So I'm going to keep this one, I guess, a little briefer and say I agree with you. The Bucks maybe go into this 8-9. I'm with you,
Mm-hmm.
and it'll be enough to sneak in. Horrible division, NFC least. Can't really say that because it's not easy. But now back to the other South, another division, AFC South. This one's really interesting for me. Who takes the AFC South for you?
I mean, Jacksonville, they look really good, and they've got a quarterback who is on fire, who is arguably a top 10 quarterback right now. I think,
Oh yeah,
again, last time we said Trevor was a top 10 quarterback, he kind of slowed down. So I'm going to wait till these final two games. But I think it comes down to January 8th because the Jaguars play the
oh yeah,
tanking
definitely.
Houston Texans, so they'll win that. Tennessee are really struggling right now. They play the Texans, so I think they'll win that. So it'll
And they
be
play
eight
the
and
they
seven.
play the Cowboys though.
I think they win, they lose 8-8. Jacksonville beat the Texans, so it'll be 8-8 going into that
Eight and
game.
eight going into
Winner
that.
takes the division. This is so tough. I am going to go in Jacksonville. I'm going to take the Jaguars. I'm going to take the Jaguars and I'm not confident in that because I still don't like their defense. I know they played well against the Jets, but they had Zach Wilson at quarterback, so I think we need a bit more than that. But I think Trevor Lawrence is playing like a very, very good quarterback. And the Titans with Malik Willis at quarterback, I don't really trust them necessarily to kind of win that kind of winner goes to the playoff, winner goes to the playoffs type game. And I think Doug Peterson, he is experienced with these types of big games. And I think that's also going to be a difference. And Jacksonville really turned around. They look like a team trending in the right direction, and Tennessee look like they're trending in the wrong direction on a 4-game losing streak right now. I mean, against solid teams like the Bengals, Eagles, Jags, and Chargers, but that'll be difficult for morale. And I think Jacksonville with Malik at quarterback, I think they'll steal it. I think they'll steal a division.
Yeah, I this one is a really easy one for me to
Really?
actually to call. Give me, as you said, Jacksonville.
Mm-hmm.
Trevor Lawrence is on fire. And I feel like since he's been drafted, everyone's been doubting him because he hasn't looked.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be the first to admit he has not looked that good in his first two seasons. Or this is his second season, so I guess he didn't look very good in his rookie season, and then had a slow start to this second season. But in the last 7 games, he's thrown 14 touchdowns and just one interception. He's looking in those 7 games like a top 5, 10 quarterback in the NFL. And I he's really impressing me. I think the biggest difference we're seeing in Trevor Lawrence this season is the clutch moments. Last season, he did not convert on any of them. He did not look great last season, but this season, he has been excellent. A 4-game winning streak with an overtime win against Dallas. They beat Tennessee 2 weeks ago. Sorry, a 3-game winning streak. Baltimore by 1 point. Beat the Raiders in a close game. Almost beat the Giants, half a yard short. We'll take that one. But I think Trevor Lawrence has just looked way too good for this Titans defense, who, have
It's a
been
good
very
defense. It's a good
susceptible. But
defense.
but they've been very susceptible this season. They've got 7 losses, and I think Trevor Lawrence is going to be too much. I agree with you how this is going to play out. I think the Titans and the Jaguars both beat the Texans. The Titans are going to go to Dallas and probably get crushed by the Cowboys. That leaves January 8th. That's the big one. And I think Jacksonville takes that one at home. Trevor Lawrence is going to put up a big performance. I believe it. And give me Jacksonville and taking that division.
Yep. I think yep, nothing else to say. I think with Trevor Lawrence going from Urban Meyer to Doug Peterson will do that.
Yeah, definitely. Let's move away from the NFL for a second and talk about college football. And the draft in particular. We've got a lot of teams. We just talked about quarterbacks for a long time. And to continue it just a little bit more, how many quarterbacks? I think the common consensus for quarterbacks in the first round right now is 4. But it could be more, could be less. What do you think? How many quarterbacks in the first round?
I'm gonna say in the entire first round or the top 10?
We'll start with the entire first round.
4 quarterbacks. I'll say 4. I think it could go to 5. I'm gonna say 4 right now.
Yeah, that's fair. Now top 10.
3.
Yeah, I'm thinking
Young and Stroud for me are easy top 5.
Young and Stroud are solidified top 10
but
picks.
I'm hearing that there's some GMs who have Will Levis as their top quarterback on the board, which is crazy to me, but
I don't see it.
I don't see it because he just hasn't been very successful. But at the same time, he's got a big frame, which implies solid, which I think could make him a solid pocket passer, but he's also got a good legs, a good arm. I can see why teams would like him. So I think someone's going to take him top 10.
Yeah, I'm not attached on Will Levis, so I'm going to go with 2 quarterbacks in the top 10. I think Young and Stroud are locks in that top 10, and one of them will likely go number 1 overall to Houston. Levis, it's a toss-up for me. His stats don't look great. He's not doing much in that SEC. He's got 2,400 yards, 19 touchdowns, and 10 interceptions, which just isn't very good. In fact, it's I'm not going to say it's bad, but to be a top 10 quarterback, I feel like he should be doing a whole lot better. That's the big one for me. But do you agree that a quarterback will go number 1 overall?
Yes, because the Texans are going to have the first pick, and they're going to take Young or Stroud. I think they'll take Young.
Young or Stroud, yeah. I think
they got to go quarterback. They benched their quarterback. They're going with a 2 quarterback system right now. If they don't take quarterback, that would be the shock of the century. As good as Will Anderson and Jalen Carter are, they're still taking quarterback.
So now, why do you think Bryce Young at number 1?
I think he's more NFL ready. He's really good through his progressions. He's a really good pocket mobility, and he's able to get outside the pocket as well. Really accurate. He's a very NFL ready quarterback who's been playing at Alabama, and this isn't a common theme with Alabama, but not with a lot of talent. He isn't as lucky as guys like Tua and Mac Jones, where he's had a lot of future NFL receivers at the position. I mean, he's got NFL receivers, but not like receivers like Jerry Jeudy or Devontae Smith, Jalen Waddle. Yeah, those guys. He doesn't really have anyone who's going to make a serious difference in the league, and he's still been having an Heisman type season. He won the Heisman in last year with he had Jameson Williams and Mechie, who are, I think, obviously Jameson Williams is really good, and John Mechie is solid as well. But the next year, he still managed to have a pretty good season, even with that drop off in talent. So I think they'll look at that. I think Houston will be like, we want that guy. Although I wouldn't be surprised if they want Stroud either, because he's a taller, more typical pocket passer with, again, good pocket presence. He very, very accurate as well. But I would say Young. I think they'll do Young. they'll
Yeah,
take Young.
I agree with you. Bryce Young is the more NFL ready passer to me.
Mhm.
Um, but does it concern you at all how small Bryce Young is? He's
Um,
6 foot, 194 pounds. That's
it
really
would if
small.
that affected his pocket presence, but I don't think it does too much from watching him at Alabama. He's
Hmm.
really good at manipulating and moving around the pocket. He's very accurate. I don't think he lets those big bodies in at the line of scrimmage really bother him. And I think we've seen other small quarterbacks succeed. It's more about how they respond to pressure. And Bryce Young is very good at under pressure. And I think that's really the main concern. The other main concern is injuries, which is why I think that is obviously why he has to probably build some muscle going into the NFL because he's going to have. But at the same time, you're in the SEC. You're already going to have a lot of NFL talent at defensive line going after him. So I think at the end of the day, he that won't be something that deters the team, whether in the top 5 from taking him.
Yeah, I completely agree. Bryce Young just feels like the better pick for me, more NFL ready. We've seen what he can do with great receivers, and we've seen what he can do with not as great receivers.
Mm-hmm.
He plays against, as you said, top tier defenders in the SEC. And I think that, he's of the two, he's less likely to be phased by the jump to the NFL. I think he just seems like such a pro ready quarterback when you see him play. And I know Alabama had, not as successful of a season this season, not even in the playoffs, but I think, that wasn't due to Bryce Young's performances at all. But I think that's going to wrap it up for us for now.
Mm-hmm.
I hope you guys enjoyed. Please go down below, comment who you think is going to make the playoffs, what you think of these quarterbacks, and who you think will go number 1 in the NFL draft. I think we're going to try and start getting some more mock drafts to you guys soon. I know, Serge, you did one already.
Yep.
But I'm really interested to see your guys' opinions down below. And thank you guys so much for watching. I'm Charlie Nidell, and this is Serge Kadali. Thank you.